Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we are coming to you, man, what an end of a year.
Oof.
I think it's pretty easy to say not a single one of us listening to this right now has lived through a year like this. And we made it. We made it to the other side.
Such a wild ride. We made it. We're here. All I have is hope. That's all I can say. I have hope for the future. We are prepared for whatever now.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like what we've already been through. We have thicker skin. We have been trapped in our homes. We are resilient as a people, and we are going to have an amazing 2021, even if there are some curveballs.
Yeah, and even though I really feel like doing it right now, I promise you we will not do our own version of Imagine, like all the celebrities rolled out in the beginning of this quarantine season. Although, God, I wish John Lennon would rise from his grave and sing it to us right now. I feel like we all need to imagine a better world. And speaking of that, we have a review. We have a review of the month from Robin, but there's something I forgot. There's something we do every time before one of these reviews. Do you remember what we do, Soph?
I'm looking.
Where?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
Okay. Dum. Thank you, Sophie, for the drum roll. Robin tells us, I moved to Utah from Canada to support my husband on a new job opportunity and new exciting adventure in February 2020. Man, what a month to move. This was a few weeks before the pandemic hit. Meeting new people or even getting acquainted with my new city wasn't an option. I've never felt more isolated, lost, and alone in my life. My anxiety, depression was an all-time high, and drinking and stress weren't far behind. I found Sophie and Adi in this podcast and have really felt at ease since. I really fell in love with the radical transparency and just accepting myself as I am in this current moment and working to be better than I was yesterday, not expecting a full transformation overnight. That it takes a lot of work and intention, relearning that one bad thing doesn't define me and that there's always room to grow, baby steps. The information on this podcast is legit therapy. Thank you both. Bonus, following Sophie and the family on social fills my heart. Thanks for sharing.
Aw, thank you, Robin. Please write us, contact us however you can so we can get you a special package from us.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Robin, so much. This is literally the reason why we record this.
Yep.
All right. So putting this year in review is a little bit like telling my life story, I feel like. Like I feel like we could actually take 9 months to describe everything that happened this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of insane to think that there was actually 3 months at the beginning of the year where we didn't have COVID-19, and that was just like gradually building up because it's overtaken so much. But even during Corona, there's been so much insanity. So obviously COVID and isolation and all that has been a big piece. But the entire Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement was a huge part of what happened this year. And, you know, we really tried to focus quite a bit on it right when it started happening. We keep trying to bring it in. That's why we're bringing it back here right now, because for both of us, this was a huge opportunity for reflection and on real surrender to society and the social pressures and the stigmas and marginalizations that are happening in our society constantly. And Sophie, you had a very particular moment, and we brought that back here with Millana Snow that was pretty emotional.
Yeah. And the learning and the growth this year and the absolute not knowing from my part in so many things and mistakes that I made along the way, but I just kept on trying to face it anyway, even when I knew I was going to make mistakes or fall flat on my face. And Millana, you know, we turned that conversation around. It was, we'll let you listen to it, but it was on Noah's birthday, and I got thrown into a conversation that I was not prepared for. And we published it anyway. We shared it with all of you to hear the awkwardness and the learning and the growth and, you know, the impression and the perspective that Millana had about me and for, people like me. And I am so grateful for that conversation because it broke me open and um, let me see a lot of my own shadows and my own blind spots. And so we're sharing it again. It's the first thing we're going to share in this. And it helped us to wake up. And I hope that it can help you to reimagine some things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're about radical transparency, and you guys know we talk about this all the time. But radical transparency is not always comfortable. And if we only share the times when it was comfortable, it wouldn't be radical transparency. It would sort of defeat the entire purpose. So
Yeah.
we actually believe that it's from these most uncomfortable moments that you get the best learning opportunities. And so really, we're happy for those of you who haven't heard this moment to be able to share this with you again. And I think this is a great opportunity to reflect for a lot of us. What are our blind spots in the world that we're not paying attention to? Um,
You
there's
can think you're the most aware person and then something hits you upside the head. And it's important to face that
and
with
be open
grace and
and
be
be open
open.
and
Yep.
be open to it.
That's all we can do.
That's how we learn. And so speaking of that, we move into a more recent conversation I had with Rick Doblin, um, the guy who started Maps and started fighting for these psychedelic based therapeutics at a time where, you think 48, 50 years ago, y- this is really revolutionary stuff this guy's been able to do. Raised over $100 million for this work over the last 50 years.
Mm.
And what a world he's created, right? Like, you think about when he started this and the notion that mushrooms or ketamine or MDMA would be therapeutics was not even thought of. And now this guy's created this reality. And we have a very candid conversation about it. If you care about therapeutics, if you care about PTSD, if you are about the drug war or anything like that, this is an interview that is just you can't miss this thing. It's a really, really powerful. We're so lucky to have had Rick on.
And then we had an amazing conversation with the founder of Financial Gym, and it was awesome. This was one of your favorite episodes. We went deep talking about our finances, issues we've had, energetic blocks when it comes to our personal finances, both separately and together. And we really go into economic shifts and sharing just tips and tricks from the expert.
Yeah, and shame around money and what it means to be scared, right? Money is such a powerful force in our society, and yet so many of us are scared to talk about it. In relationships, we know sex and money are two of the main reasons why relationships break up. God knows Sophie and I used to fight about money all the time. And
Mhm.
so a really, really important conversation for those of you in relationship and out of it. And then this was surprising to me, Soph, because we're so similar in every single way. We learn about the fact that you don't
LOL.
have to be the same person, the same little doppelganger for your loved one in a relationship, which was really, I was surprised. Robert Nygard really um, made me aware of it in a way I'd never had before.
Yeah, we loved interviewing him. We loved the nuggets of truth after what was it? Almost a decade of shooting this movie. It was a while,
It was,
several years.
it was a long time.
Several years. And it's called The Truth About Marriage. And we really enjoyed watching it as well.
And some of our other friends are in it, which was really kind of cool, right? Like Chris Ryan is in it as one of the experts. It's a fun exploration, and Roger's very upfront about this. It's a fun exploration of marriage by somebody who's never been married,
Yep.
and really trying to dig into what is this thing about.
We also talk about the importance of setting boundaries and saying no to work. I got super sick at the end of this year. And that was a manifestation of going, taking on too much, and the energetics of just this crazy year. And what happens to a person that tries to do it all. And, the world is like, you need to slow down, sister. So we talk about that. We talk about priorities.
We talk a lot about priorities, and both in relationships and in business and in terms of family interactions and in your partnership itself, right? How do you prioritize? There's so much coming at us. You thought Corona was going to make you slow down, but in reality, it just introduced a whole new set of things to worry about. And so, how do you prioritize? How do you put the right attention on the right relationships and know which ones to let go. All that sort of stuff is something we explored a lot.
Yeah. And just remember that this year has been crazy for everyone. And I think it's mostly because our distractions, those things that we've depended on so fully, the things on our day-to-day basis of, you know, hold on one second. Babe, don't worry about it right now. Just finish this one little part and then we'll be done. And let's just remember that this year for everyone has been gnarly. And one of the biggest observations I have is that we don't have our normal defaults when it comes to escapes and going out at night and going to dinners and traveling and all of these things that are distractions from what's going on internally. So now we have had to look at our relationships that we're spending constantly with. We're having to look at the way we parent, our school systems, all the systems in our life, from the way our home is managed and mealtime and just all these things that maybe we could kind of slip by with average showing up to. And now those distractions are gone. So we're all in this together. And we hope that you learn something from all of these of our favorite episodes of 2020 and let us know.
Yeah, and let's all put our hands together and just really, whatever you believe in, I don't really care what it is. We got to pray for something better in 2021 because we all need it. We need life to go back to, that same Sophie was mentioning before, not distracting ourselves, but rather the building up, right? Giving ourselves all the resources that we want to be able to create the best life possible. We are adaptable animals. We will deal with whatever is thrown at us. But here's to wishing that all of us get to experience this incredible growth year, and a year that makes up for what we just went through.
Yeah. Let's all wake up and encourage each other and our loved ones to wake up too. We hope this supports you.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the other side.
From the moment I wake up till the instant I go to sleep, as most of you know, my day is crazy full. I often share my schedules on good old Instagram, but for those of you who don't know, I am running 3 inspiring businesses. I have 3 gorgeous children running around the house constantly. And in between helping them with school, creating alone time with the D, and also carving out some solo soul time for myself, there is basically no room left in the day for anything else. I really do know how it feels when I load up on unhealthy foods, and it's not a great look. I don't have time to stress about these added fillers or sugars or whether my food will actually make me and my family feel good and be nutritious. And that's what I love about Philosophie Superfoods and why I started this company. I know that they are trustworthy, that they are packed with high vibe antioxidants, minerals, adaptogens that all help me deal with what the world throws at me each day. I love my life. I love my children and my jobs, and I want to be able to really thrive in all of these things and put on a bunch of different hats and roll with the punches. And Philosophie Superfoods really allows me and supports me in wearing all those hats. If you would like to stock up on our Philosophie Superfoods, which are always organic, raw, incredibly sourced nutrients, use the code IGNITED, that's IGNTD, to stock up for you and your loved ones. You and your body will feel so grateful for it.
Thank you for being here. There's something that feels different about this moment.
Yeah.
Than many, many times before. But like, I don't want to take a chance. Like, I don't want to gamble on the fact that enough other people will feel like there's a difference in this time and will continue talking about this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of nuance and complexity to this entire experience for everyone individually and collectively. And I'm mixed. I was raised by my white family, and I am Afro-Latino, so I also carry a couple different ethnic bloodlines in that side of things. And it's been really interesting because, I identify as a person of color. I identify as a mixed person. I also identify as Latina and Black, and being at the intersection of all those things right now has been really, really interesting, especially because I was raised in a white family and I have a different kind of experience than a lot of Black identifying people do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting on many levels. I'm sure we'll get into it today.
Yeah. And so my idea was, I really believe in the power of stories, and that in the end, we can talk statistics, we can talk timelines, we can talk about all that stuff. And it's relevant and it's important and it's, not just interesting, it's the meat of what it is that we're dealing with. And that's fine. Yeah. But in the end, people connect to stories.
Totally.
And the fact that we know that means, I think the way out of this is for the stories to continue showing us that this is a much more, I don't even know how to say it, but like people are having a much more similar experience than we're imagining.
Totally. I think one of the things that's kind of challenging about, it's like there's also something that's happening that's like an interesting, complex like response to what's happening. And that's that I feel that a lot of white people are starting to recognize that they have not incorporated Black people in their lives at all, in their businesses, on their platforms. And I have to preface this that I know that this is well-intentioned, but one of the things that I feel kind of awkward about is that, I've been in the same room with Sophie multiple times. I've spoken at conferences that she's attended or spoken at.
Yeah.
And she's never followed me. She's never reached out to me. She's never asked me to be on your platform. So I have to be really, really honest with you that is really awkward for me. Because I noticed it before anyways.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Again, I said this publicly, and we're about nothing if not transparency. And so I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, think that we've discovered the answer.
Yeah.
So I know there have been oversights. I know there have been mistakes. I know there have been blind spots, like literally things that we literally didn't even see. Yeah. And what I see a lot of people, we talked about this with Jean yesterday. I see a lot of people muting, but part of the idea of muting is my voice doesn't matter and I'm not important in this conversation. Let the people whose voice is important speak. But what you just mentioned is relevant, because what it says is, yeah, but the people who have platforms often don't include those of us who have, you have a platform, but those of us who have different platforms in the conversation. And I think that's going to end up having to be the result if we want real change.
Yeah.
Right. For whatever reason there was that Sophie didn't connect, whatever it was, whether it's an internal bias to Sophie, whether it's, like I said, like a blind spot, and whatever it is, it's just not okay. It's just not enough. Like just saying, oh, well, it's just the thing that happens is no longer enough.
Yeah. And what's hard, and I think why so many of us have avoided this, including Black and brown people, is that it's to have these conversations is really challenging. I wanted to say that to you before we got on air, because, and maybe this will even be on the interview. I have no idea, but it's really hard to have conversations. Well, first of all, we have to internally, Black and brown people have to get to a place where they can even have the language and the compassion to speak to white people about these things, because as you mentioned, like, this is so a part of everyday life for so many Black and brown people. And frankly, for me, I have a lot of privilege myself. So what I experience is even way less than so many Black people in the United States. And it's hard for us to internally heal all of the wounds of that we're facing every day, to then have those conversations that are awkward and not always, and often not received well. And so I want to at least give some credit and thank you for being open to having that conversation with me, whether it's on air or not, because I think I'm in a position because of my own privilege and experiences, and because I was raised by white people. So I have a certain like audacity and like understanding around how to form my language around this in a different way. And so it's my job to actually be the bridge for people of darker skin tones who haven't even been in the environments to meet people like you and Zoe, you know?
Yeah.
Sophie, excuse me. Sorry, Sophie.
Hey, so I just want to say this. First of all, thank you. Thank you for speaking. Sorry for you having to be the one to say it, because that's the other piece of this, right? Is I don't remember where I heard this. But it was part of the thing of like, it's not really Black and brown people's job to educate me about the things I'm not seeing, right? Okay. It's not. And yet we're in this weird moment where I know there's shit I don't know. So it's not the job of the people who've been marginalized to educate the people who've been marginalizing them about why it is that marginalizing is a problem, right?
Right.
I think we can all agree, like, not the job of a woman who is abused to tell her, like, abuser, hey, this isn't okay, right? So it works in all contexts. And yet I find myself repeatedly, so like we're exposing ourselves to material, and I've watched movies related to the experience before, but again, right, like there's a difference between connecting one-on-one with another human being and being able to be open and come to the conversation and say, look, I don't actually know the answer. So I'm not coming to you with, here's what we need to do. What I'm coming is with, let's talk about our common experiences, because in the end, I do hold a firm belief that even the most bigoted, most closed-minded people are of that mind and of that opinion because that's what they were taught is right.
Totally.
And through repeated experience, we can do it. So I don't know how we'll cut this up. And do I pronounce it Millana?
Millana, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to share, just so you don't have to go through that experience again. But Millana was sharing, so she's connected to the Almost 30 Girls. Yeah. She was saying that she's been in a lot of events and like in panels, either that you've spoken at or that she's been at herself. And that one of the things that she felt weird even about coming here today was you guys have still never connected.
Yeah, we've never connected one-on-one.
So through all these times. And she was saying, I don't know why that is, but I've been in the same room with Sophie many, many times and we've never connected. And so
I think that just happens in life. I think it's just a coincidence, and just like, I know of you, but I don't really, other than Krista and Lindsay, I don't know any mutual close friends. So I think it's just a matter of like continuing to, stay connected and ask the questions. And I know of you, but I don't know you well. I just would say like an acquaintance.
Well, so what we were talking about that I think is just important to bring up is whether, because I was saying that in all of our interactions, not just, I mean,
everyone's.
It's so hard to even know what words to pick. In all of the, whatever. In all of my interactions with people of color or other people who've been marginalized, there's this kind of like soup of uncertainty about why are we having the interactions that we're having. Mm. And it's so easy. It's so funny actually to see you react to that same input, Sophie, because it has to do with you, but it doesn't really have to do much with me. So there was when she told me that, there's no like, I didn't have an internal reaction of potential shame and embarrassment about it myself because you didn't point me out as being in the room.
Well, you weren't in the room.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when it comes to you, I can see, I've known you for 16 years. I could see the wheels turning a little bit of like, well, why didn't that happen? And trying to match, like, are there other people that I've seen? And I could kind of see the wheels turning for you.
Yeah. I think it's my perspective on the situation separate from what's going on right now is like, if I really look at why we haven't connected, to me, it's always personal. Like no one introduced us. No one's like, why would I just like pick any person in the room? Oh my God. Give me 1 second. Let me just tell them all to stop moving.
Literally like moving furniture above our head. Right? What the fuck is going on?
I think this is really awesome because you and I got to have this conversation and then she had the reaction, and I think you're getting to see a little bit of what I experienced.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, that's actually why I wanted you to translate it. And this is really to give you a lived experience of what it means to be an advocate and an ally. Because if I would have said that to her, she wouldn't have been able to take it in. But because you said it first, now you're going to be able to help her understand that the way she's responding is actually hurtful.
Yeah. And that it's like almost like implicit unknown defensiveness.
Exactly.
Like I have to come out of this interaction like a good person. So how does that work out?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, this honestly, this couldn't have happened any better than this is happening right now.
It couldn't have. I love that. But you're right. What I just felt in a way that I haven't felt before is I guarantee you that I've been in the same position that Sophie is in right now.
Yeah.
Which is that moment of self-reflection on my own action. And then, and this is a sad reality, but it's also a reality.
Yeah.
The justification of our actions, all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were just talking. She was saying that well, can you actually repeat it? What you were saying, how you like the way this unfolded?
Yeah. This is definitely a challenging conversation. But I really like that this is happening the way this is, because we had a conversation before you got on that was sharing my experience of what it was like to even just come to this show today. And the way that he was able to take it in was very different than your initial reaction, which I'm really grateful that actually I got to talk to him about it first, because I was just saying to him that I feel that he's actually getting to feel what it's like to be a white ally, and that in some ways he's having to translate for me what you're not really able to hear from me right now, or to even recognize that the way that you reacted was actually, it's actually hurtful. And so I think this is an opportunity, because it's the three of us and it happened the way that it did, that he can help me explain to you why that reaction was hurtful.
Totally. So I want to hear maybe from you what that felt like. Or from me, I feel like I came into into a conversation that I wasn't a part of. So I just feel like I want to just see all the sides before I respond or react. I just, I want to take responsibility for my own actions, but also I wasn't really.
Well, what I said,
I didn't realize that it was I didn't really understand what the conversation was even about.
But that's actually,
I heard it the way I heard it, which is not necessarily right at all.
But I think that's the value of these conversations. Is these things come all the time and nobody prepares you before it happens.
Right.
Totally.
What I was saying, and when I was acknowledging when Millana shared this first, is both of us know that in the past we've made mistakes.
Oh yeah.
We've ignored things that we shouldn't have ignored. And I think that's what we saw here in this moment. We have blind spots. We have times where we don't even know that we missed something. So that when it gets presented to us, we come up with a rational explanation because our brain has to explain things. And the thing that I saw more than anything, Millana, in that interaction was I was trying to put myself in your shoes watching the experience. And the thing that sucks, I could be totally wrong about this, but the thing that sucks is you don't actually know which one of the three you're watching. You literally almost don't know if the person is just pretending.
Yeah.
If they realize they made a mistake and they're sorry about it, but they're just feeling weird about saying that.
Yeah.
Or they literally are unaware that this thing happens. And that has to be a really unnerving experience.
Like, I think it's easy for us to all say we're not racist, right? And I don't, like you said, I don't know who is racist. And that's something that I have to constantly be aware of. Again, and I don't think you heard me say this, Sophie, but like, I'm mixed. I was raised by a white family. I'm Afro-Latino. I have a lot of different things going on, and I'm a light-skinned person. So I have a lot of privilege, and I have been given a lot of opportunities because of the way that I look and because of the family that I was raised by. And so if that's my experience, I can only imagine what so many darker skinned Black people have to experience on a daily basis. I can't imagine, but with that being said, it's like, you know, sometimes these things are coincidences that Black and brown people keep getting left out of podcasts and newspaper articles and TV shows. But when it happens all the time, and we're constantly looking at these podcasts and newspapers and TV shows, and we see that there are only a handful of Black and brown people, it starts to make you wonder, okay, who's actually the ally and who's not? So while I absolutely would imagine, because I know like you guys have had Jody, who's an old friend of mine on the show, and I've seen a few other people, I would imagine that you guys are definitely like love all people. I do want to share, and that's what I tried to share with your husband, that when we have shared spaces and the only time you've connected with me is when people are saying Black Lives Matter and blacking out their Instagram and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the things from public pressure, it's awkward for me.
That makes sense. And
it's not even like I'm not angry about it. I don't hold anything like against you in terms of like she's racist. Right. What I was really trying to share is that it's definitely like, oh wow, this is super awkward, and I think I should probably acknowledge this because these are the kind of hard conversations we have to have right now.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's refreshing and honest, and that's all that we advocate. So on both sides of the end, like both ends of the stick, we have to like practice what we preach, right? Like as awkward as it is, like I didn't know what conversation I was coming into. As Adi said, you don't ever know. It's not like you get a preparation paper before you're going to come into awkward situations, but the direction it was going was not where I obviously saw. And that was my blind spot. I didn't know it was about your color that you were trying to, I just was like, yeah, we've been at the same events. I didn't realize at all that's where you were going with it. Yeah. But I see that now, and that's part of my blindness. And that's where I'm learning. And that's where I'm trying to fill in the gaps. And, you know, I didn't even know till last night you were coming on the podcast. So like my own blocks of my own, like, busyness in my own world, raising 3 kids and having all these businesses, that's my own story. And like my reality is I don't have time to just connect with random people at events. I go, I do my shit, and I leave. And that's my own like boundary to keep myself safe because I have too much going on. And that's I wish that it were different. I wish that I carved out time to get to know you, but this is our opportunity and I'm so grateful for it. Even if it's sticky and uncomfortable. See, and then here's another thing is that it's like, there's no right words to be said. You tell your story, I'm telling mine. And
I know, but you're so defensive. You're so defensive. It's painful.
Yeah, I'm sharing.
I mean, I don't know you, so I don't really know if this is how you always are, but like the difference between you two is like.
But I know why there's a difference, Millana. I know why there's a difference because I wasn't put on the spot.
It's just really hard to be in a position where like I'm literally holding space for thousands of people who are Black, brown, and white, everything in between. And then I have to get on a phone call with 2 white people who are completely unaware of the dynamics of what it's like to be in this position. And then to have an interaction like this, like, by the way, like my boyfriend is white. My mom is white. Okay. Like, I have to have conversations like this all the time, but it is exhausting.
You know,
it is exhausting. And to have someone what I'm sensing, to be honest, is you're not taking it into your heart, what I'm trying to say, because you have a lot going on in your life. I understand that. And I honor that. You were a mother of 3. I am not a mother. I don't even know what that's like. So I want to honor you with that. But what I do need you to understand is that you're not taking this into your heart right now. It's all in your mind. And this entire movement is about taking things into your heart and really letting it hit you and sit with you.
Hey, we're interrupting this episode to talk to you about a new GoDaddy podcast that we're so excited to share with you.
It's called School of Hustle, and in it, you're going to hear real stories from entrepreneurs who are building the businesses of their dreams and everything that it takes to get it done.
This is so important to us because we've founded and run several businesses, and hearing stories from other entrepreneurs has been our saving grace along this journey. It's how we've avoided a lot of unnecessary mistakes and learned from others who have had success.
You can go right now and listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts to get real strategies that you can use to help your business thrive. Now go hustle. And Shannon McClay, who we have on today, is the founder of an organization called the Financial Gym.
I would say the gym never would have existed if I took my Merrill mentor's advice, and he told me to pre-screen all my calls, make sure they have money before I even meet with them. And it was literally, it all came to me like a lightning bolt. I was like, I have to create a business for people like this, which is the majority of Americans, where they can go no matter what's in their bank account to get the help they need. And on the same time, I was on a weight loss journey, and I remember thinking, when I wanted to get physically healthy, I have so many places to go to get physically healthy, but if people want to get financially healthy, where would they go? And I thought, you go to a financial gym to get healthy. So all there, I said, beautiful. The advisors are trainers, they wear jeans and t-shirts. It doesn't, just like a regular gym, doesn't matter what's in the bank account. Our clients pay a monthly membership fee like a regular gym. And that was 7 years ago. I knew nothing about starting a business.
And
I love it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And also just like the confidence that you're giving people and the layers of healing, eliminating shame from the narrative and seeing themselves in a different light. And, very much a parallel to losing weight, because it's not necessarily about the weight. It's about what's going on internally and the stories that we write about and addiction.
And the idea, I mean, there's so many places I want to go on this. First of all, you're going to do a workshop. You don't know this yet, but you're going to do a workshop for my hero participants, because they need to hear this. Because, just like weight, as you mentioned, so just like an addiction, when people look bad because of their drug use, that's the obvious stuff. And money, there are obvious versions of money shame, right?
Yes.
You can't go out to eat at a restaurant. The car you're driving is 15 years old. All that stuff is the obvious. But so much of what you're talking about is resolving the inner pain around, I don't even know what to do about this. We literally today, as we're recording this, launched the Once an Addict, Always a Fill in Your Blank campaign. And I can almost imagine that in a very parallel way, maybe society has less of a specific title for it. But if you're broken, stuck, and debt is killing you, there's a hopelessness and a helplessness that sets in, which is like, I'm going to live the rest of my life like this, avoiding creditors, running away, not being able to take people out on a date if I'm single because I don't know how to pay for the dinner. I can just already imagine there's this huge pain that happens for people.
There's so much pain. And, what I tell people that I've discovered in the last 7 years of, which I found my purpose, by the way. But what I found, the world
so much better once that happens.
Everything feels right. Like everything just kind of clicks. And even when things go wrong, it feels right. So
I love it.
It's there. And what I've seen in the last 7 years of helping people with their finances is that, and I say all the time, money is the ultimate taboo topic we have left out there. Like, we are more comfortable getting physically naked with somebody than financially naked. So, we talk about body shaming or whatever, like there's an empowerment movement there, but there's still this, untabooness to money. And so there's a lot of shame around it because we're not talking about it, because we probably didn't talk about it in our home. A lot of couples don't talk about it. We've had couples married 10 years who come to us, they have kids, a lifetime together, and they don't know what's in each other's bank accounts.
And so I found in my direct experience how incredibly valuable MDMA was to treat trauma. I also was at a workshop at Esalen in Big Sur, California with Stan Groff, and there was a veteran there, and he shared that he had been shot during the war in the back and had bullet fragments still in his back, and that it caused him all this pain, and that he had had an MDMA experience, and that he was able to work on the emotions of being shot, the whole trauma of that. And as he kind of could relax from the fear and terror of that, he felt that there was a similar relaxation going around in the musculature of his back where the bullet wound was. And that he was able to get both emotional healing and physical healing, both of which lasted, had persisted.
And I think that's the important thing for people to understand, right? Look, there are drugs like alcohol. You drink a bunch of alcohol, it helps your back pain because you're numb, your feelings are depressed. It may even make you pass out. But when you wake up, any of that relief is gone. If anything, we know now it's actually the pain can be exacerbated because your brain has sort of taken a break from producing its own pain reduction chemicals. And so it's taken a break and now you're more in pain. And we can talk about hangovers and all those other effects. Yeah. What you're talking about is long-term change in people's psyche.
Yes. Well, we would call it fear extinction and memory reconsolidation. Also neuroplasticity. We know that psychedelics promote new neural connections.
And so I'm sort of jumping way ahead, but one of the things that all the experts agree on is that if you're thinking of getting married today, right now, this is something that you're thinking of doing, the best thing you can do to increase your chances for a happy relationship and for longevity in a relationship is premarital counseling.
Yes.
And they've found religious couples do better than non-religious couples. And it's not because they're religious, it's because the religions force them to have premarital counseling. And counseling isn't a hard thing. It's actually fun. It's like someone listens to you who's got experience and is engaged and can offer constructive solutions. You can have these interesting conversations, and it's really helpful and fun. It should be fun and helpful. And that's why they're here. Because let's say you get married without any discussions about what's important to you. Well, you're going to have a lot of surprises and frustrations, which leads to arguments.
Some of them not comfortable surprises.
Exactly. I mean, there's simple things like, how dark or light do you want the bedroom? Is it okay to leave the TV on all night when you're sleeping? How many kids are you expecting to have? How many times do you like to have sex per day? What's off are strip clubs off limits? Is masturbation, is porn off limits? How much is too much to spend on a pair of shoes? I mean, there's so many things that if you discuss these in advance in a fun way, you'll just have a much better chance, and your percentage is going to go up way beyond what the typical couple is, like a 50% chance if it's a coin flip.
Plus the fact that if you had these conversations ahead of time, you got used to having these semi-weird, uncomfortable conversations sometimes. They don't come up around conflict that randomly showed up in your relationship, but rather there was an effort to learn about each other, right? I think what you're so right about is talking to a mediator or somebody who's listening to you and has tools can be really enjoyable when you're not in conflict and in trauma. When you've just had a terrible discovery or somebody massively screwed up, it's really hard to sink into that. I mean, some of those questions you mentioned over and over has absolutely come up in our relationship. And I don't know, would have saved us at least a handful of months of conflict over the 15 years we've been together.
And I also just feel like when you were talking, Roger, like the first thing that comes to mind is that, work is hard, but grown adults, if you're adult enough to get married, you should be adult enough to know that on the other side of this hard work is something so rewarding. And it's like the same as working out. Like if you're a grown adult and every time you go to work out, you're like, like our 8-year-old and like whine every time. And you're like, but it's hard work. You don't. You get used to it because you realize when I go to my yoga class, when I go into the gym, it's part of the process to work hard, and working hard feels good. And this is even more rewarding because it's with your partner.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.